Hi, I'm Laura Rolfe, host of Powered by Franchising and CEO of Mint Franchise Consultants. I love talking with people who inspire me every day about entrepreneurship, pursuing life as life comes at us. And so today on the show, we have Jimmy Owens. Jimmy is a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, and has a very heartwarming, inspiring story that he'll share with us today, along with his swim philosophy. So, welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Thank you, Laura, very much for having me. I
Well,
appreciate it.
well, we met
I'm very
about
excited.
5 years ago at Craig Dussault's, one of his masterminds. He is a rock legend and inspiring speaker himself. So, wanted to invite you to the show today to talk about your story. Um, Tell us, how did you first become an entrepreneur all those years ago?
Well, what started a few years back was I had a DJ company, Jimmy O Entertainment, which provided live sound. It provided DJ for weddings, parties, events. I played big events like Coachella, NASCAR. And what happened was my wife actually brought me to this event with Craig when she had a free ticket. And I met the guy and I said, "Oh, this stuff is not for me. I'm too busy." But after meeting Craig, I was so enthralled with his personality and the fact that he had been in the music business with Guns N' Roses and Air Supply. And I thought, maybe I will come back again and listen a little more. So that's what started me on the journey to become an entrepreneur, is I actually did come back and participate in two or three more conferences before I decided, I think I'm going to start moving myself to a new entrepreneurship or a new um, type of business.
Yes, well, and Craig is well known for. So I have a similar story. I had a friend drag me along with one of those free tickets as well, and that's how Craig knows how to suck you in and say you need to
Yes.
be here. So yeah, I continue to participate in some of Craig's workshops as well, and I love that he inspires entrepreneurs to write a book. So, my very first book that became a number one bestseller on Amazon, I wrote in one of his 24-hour challenges. It's on leadership and volunteerism. And you recently co authored a book. You're one of 21 authors in a new book. Is that one out yet? And tell our listeners a little bit more about that book and what you
It
wrote about.
it is out. It's Rockstar Entrepreneurs. Matter of fact, I have a copy around here somewhere. I'll pull it out for you in a minute. And we had 21 other authors talk about different business philosophies that they have used to help them create their entrepreneurship. And with me, I wrote about the swim philosophy, which I created in the hospital. As your guests are about to hear, I received a heart transplant in November of 2023. I had been fighting congestive heart failure for over 10 years, and I was losing the battle. And without getting a new heart, I would not be here today. So I created the swim philosophy in the hospital to get me out of there and move forward. And that's what we wrote about in that book. And it also became a bestseller on Amazon when it was released about 2 months ago.
Well, awesome. Well, you were a competitive swimmer. You've been a swim coach. So, um, how did that inspire the swim philosophy? I'm sure that one kind of led to the other, plus the being in the hospital for a bit, getting your new heart.
It did. And what transpired was, yes, I've been a swim coach for over 30 years. I coached USA Swimming, also coached a high school swim program and water polo program. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing a USA water polo national team sweatshirt right now. It's a little cold where I'm at. And sorry about that. And one of my students who I had started coaching at probably 8 years old and was his first water polo and swim coach, continued to go on to Pepperdine and get a scholarship. I coached him all the way to high school, and he ended up on the national team and has now been our U.S. Olympic men's coach for 9 years. So he sent me a jacket, which is really exciting because I was one of his first coaches ever. Um, I have multiple swimmers that have made national level competitions and in all ages, from I'm going to say 10 and under all the way to high school level. So I've coached all different levels. I also have a master's team now, which also has sent 9 people to nationals last year. When I was in the hospital, all these swimmers got to go. Unfortunately, I just had to watch. Um, but that's what started the journey, and that's what started my swim philosophy. I spoke in the book about what are some of the things that I would teach the kids. And number one was, I'm going to talk about the swim philosophy now. Number one was I wanted them to be serious. If you're going to be better at anything you do, whether it be business or athletics, you need to be serious at what you're doing. And that means you need to want to get from where you are. It doesn't mean you have to win, but get from where you are to where you want to be. So you've got to have goals set. And those type of things are what I would teach the kids, and that's what I started teaching my entrepreneurial business partners, including the swim team that I'm currently working with. And number two, the W means you got to want to win, but again, you don't need to be first place. You just need to go from where you are to where you want to be. Uh, so the I stood for you must inspire yourself and inspire others around you. When I told the story about Michael Phelps, who just everybody knows Michael Phelps, the goat of swimming, the greatest of all time, Olympian. And he told in an interview that I sat in on and listened to, and he said there were probably 100 days a year that I didn't want to go to practice, and in those 100 days a year, I went anyway, and I probably only gave 20 or 30%. But when I looked at my competition and how many times they went, and they didn't go on the days they didn't want to go, and what did they get? Zero. So he got 20 or 30% improvement. They got zero. The final thing, the M, was motivation. And the motivation comes from when you see yourself improving, when others see you improving, it starts motivating the entire team. So not only does it motivate you to work harder, it motivates the whole team around you to work harder. So that's what the swim philosophy is all about. And those are really business principles that would help any entrepreneur in any type of business you're involved in. So that's what got me out of the hospital, Laura.
So you follow your own swim philosophy, and you
Uh,
probably didn't know that it was your exact swim philosophy 30 years ago when you first started coaching. But yeah, so I was a diver in high school, and I was in Colorado, and our swim practice was at 6 a.m. Even if there was a blizzardy snowstorm outside, we still had practice at 6 a.m. So we had to be serious about our practice and our business, and winning our meets and winning our state championship. We had to be inspired and inspire each other every day to to get out there, even though it was cold. And then we had to also have that winning philosophy. Are we winners? Are we gonna, even if we didn't finish first or third or even rank, but just making sure that we were inspired by others and supporting others, and then that motivation. So I love your philosophy, Jimmy.
So I'm gonna have to send you a copy of the book. The big book will be published, I hope, next month, which is my full story. And I'm gonna tell you this real quick. We still have 5:30 a.m. in the morning practice. I go 3 mornings a week,
Yep.
including 7:30 on Saturdays. So that's now. So that still is going on after all these years. Um, and I will tell you, I know a little bit about diving only because before I got married, I had dated a young lady. Um, who was a competitive USA diver and got third place at Olympic trials, Nancy Brunet. Two different times. She had won CIF, was the high point winner, went to the same high school, so we dated early in life. But we are still friends to this day, and I just can't believe that she was third place 2 times at Olympic trials and didn't get to go, which is very. If I told you how few people actually get to go to the Olympics out of 1,000 people at Olympic trials, and only 38 people are going, and then you think that there's 600 to 800,000 swimmers that actually compete at that level during the year, that's such a small percentage of people who get to go to the Olympics that when you get that to that level, and when I poor Poor Nancy, twice third place, and only take the top two.
Yeah, well,
So
But what an
It's
inspiring
amazing.
story too, to, get third place, but that runner up doesn't get to go, unfortunately, but gets to share her story of inspiration of how hard she worked. I'm sure she was there for those 5:30 a.m. practices and worked really, really
Yes.
hard. I wasn't tiny enough to be a really like awesome, great, although I did get third in state. So that's nothing to sneeze at. But that was many, many moons ago.
It's funny you say that, Laura, because she is very small. She's a very tiny girl and was really good at gymnastics as well,
Hmm.
uh, which I am sure you could probably tell your listeners that helps your diving. You've got to be fairly good at all the different twists and turns and flips and all the things they do in gymnastics as well.
Yes, exactly. And I was just a little bit um, wider and taller, so the spins weren't quite as fast. So my best dive was a reverse 3.5, but I couldn't
Oh,
add a spin to it. But that was kind of
that's
cool.
amazing.
It was fun. So anyway, so you are also a speaker. So you connected with a lot of other wonderful entrepreneurs out there. How are you sharing your stories and your message with others and translating your swimming coaching experience and your heart transplant to motivate others?
Well, first off, let me tell you about the speaking career. Is I actually create the speech that I'm going to do depending on what you're looking for. For example, I have my best keynote speeches, which are number one, overcoming adversity to achieving goals, and with using the swim philosophy. That's my number one topic. My second topic that I've begun to talk about is working with the generations because all the years that I've coached, now I told you I did 10 and unders, high schools, and I currently have an adult program called the Masters U.S. Master Swimming, and you've got to learn to work with all different generations, and it's the same with having a company. Gen Zers, who are currently college students, and I have a speech coming up in March with the California. It's the California. What do they call themselves? FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America.
Yes.
And that speech, they wanted me to talk about collaborating with all the different generations and how the Gen Zers can work better with people like myself, who's at the bottom of the baby. I'm a 1960 baby. So I'm the last year of the baby boomers. And then comes the Gen Xers and the millennials and the Gen Zers. And how do they all work together in the workplace? So that's one of the topics that I talk about. Another topic that I talk about is heart ion tissue transplant, which I talk to the medical students and mostly high school students about the importance of knowing what an organ. I said heart. It's an organ, eye, or tissue transplant is to this community and is to keeping people alive. What's going to happen if an accident happens and you're going to die because you've had a brain injury? Would you want to leave a legacy? Would you want to leave a legacy of keeping part of you alive for who knows how long? I'll give you an example. A liver can be taken from an individual at 90 years old and will still regenerate because livers regenerate every 6 weeks. Not obviously not a heart or probably kidneys and intestines and all the other parts that they do use for organ donation, but tissue and muscle and veins can all be used for years afterwards. Um, Matter of fact, if you've even had any type of dental implant, there are sometimes that they use. I'm gonna use the word that I hate to use, but the cadaver um, tissue for any type of um, implant that they might be using for your tooth.
Yes.
Anyway, that's one of the three of that. That's three of the different things I speak about now.
Well, let's break those down a little bit. We'll start with the last first. I'm a donor. I have it on my driver's license. So if I have a traumatic brain injury and my chances of survival are little, I want to leave that legacy to somebody else. So if my heart or lungs or liver can be used to help another person, I want to give them a fighting chance. Is there anything else you
Absolutely.
can say on being a registered donor?
Well, most of the people that get their driver's license at the DMV can get the pink dot on their license, which means that they're willing to donate any type of organ, eye, or tissue to any type of individual that needs that if they themselves are not going to survive. You can also go online. There is a code, a QR code that you can scan and go online and actually go to Donate Life America and decide what you want to donate. You don't have to donate everything. Like the pink dot on your license means you can donate everything, unless you go in and tell them there are certain things that you want to donate. Like I want to donate my heart. I want to donate my lungs. I do not want to donate my kidneys. I'm not saying that that's me. I'm just saying that that is what you can do. I do not want to donate my eyes or the corneas in my eyes, which can be used. I do not want to donate tissue. You can say all of that online, and you can even check to see whether or not you are still a registered donor after all these years. You can go on to Donate Life America and check their website and look yourself up and see what you're able to donate. Um, Me, like you, I have the pink dot on my driver's license, which means any part of my body could be used. I wanted to leave a legacy as well. Um, there are, I'm going to say, with tissue donation, you can save over 100 people. With organ donation, you're probably looking at 8 people. You've got your heart, you've got your liver, which can be split in two, you've got your kidneys, which can be split in two. So now we're talking 5 people. You've got your intestines, which can be used, your large intestines. You've also got your appendix, which can be used. And that's 8 people. Again, with tissue, I'm going to tell you, I've heard stories of over 200 people, but we are taught to say 100 people which is the average you can save with tissue donation. So
And
that's your number one situation there. Your number one story.
and what did your heart transplant donor mean to you?
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you a little bit about the story. I don't know anything about the person that donated the heart, other than the fact that it was a male in his mid 20s, and the heart came from Arizona. The young man was in some type of accident, and all I know is One Legacy, who is the organization that accepts donations from people all around. They're the OPO in Los Angeles, so they accept donations from over, I'm going to say 20 million different people they represent in Los Angeles. And there are OPOs in every single city and every single country. It just depends on the OPO that I work for, the One Legacy. They are representing 7 different counties in the Los Angeles area, 22 million people, 220 hospitals where they can receive a donation. Then what happens, that donation goes to an organization called UNOS, United Organ Network Sharing. And what they do is they find from other hospitals that are saying, I have a patient like me that needs an organ. I needed a heart. At first, I needed 3 organs. When I first went into the hospital, my liver was 50% cirrhosis, and my kidneys were only at stage 4 kidney failure. And I'm going to say only because they're stage 5. There's one more after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, gosh, guys, why is my liver not working? And they said, because it's not getting any oxygen. My heart was pumping at 18% volume, meaning a normal average adult pumps at 50% or more. My new heart is pumping at 70%. So my organs are getting lots of oxygen.
Great.
And it was killing my liver and it was killing my kidneys because they weren't getting any oxygen. And they put me on a machine in the hospital, and they call it an ECMO machine, and it pulls the blood out and then it puts it back in all reoxygenated and cleaned. And it's not where people have to go in, and I can't think of the word that they use for taking the blood out and cleaning it, the procedure that they use, but they were doing that very same thing without having to go through my neck to do it. Um, and that blood, because I was on that machine for 9 weeks, regenerated my liver and brought my kidneys to a stage 2 kidney failure, which was enough to transplant my heart. And the heart transplant, I was in that hospital for 5 months. It probably was took 5 or 6 hours, and then another couple hours to recuperate. When I came out of that recuperation room, or the hospital room, into my recovery room, I couldn't believe how good I felt. from, and I had my chest cut open. I had about my entire heart taken out, a new heart put in. I didn't even feel pain. I felt so good because everything was getting oxygen and my heart was actually working now. I just can't tell you the difference I felt. So this person that gave me the gift of life, I wrote the family, I told them what I do, and I am so thankful to them, to God, and to the hospital for knowing what they knew to get me a new heart.
What a
And
blessing. And you're sharing your legacy through your speaking and encouraging others to donate life and save somebody, pay it forward, create that legacy in their life.
absolutely. I'm going to say one thing about the pink dot on the driver's license. Most people don't realize that if you're in a car accident and something happens to you and you actually stop breathing, we can't use your organs cannot be used because if they aren't kept alive by breathing, damage begins to happen within 20, 30 seconds. So if, for example, you're in a car accident and whatever happens to you, you have a severe injury to where it's causing you to stop breathing and you're not incubated on the oxygen that they give you in the hospital, your organs are not able to be used. Now, your tissue can be, and so can your corneas. However, the only people that they take organs from are people that have been in the hospital and they know exactly what is happening to that person. Usually that's a traumatic brain injury. And I'm going to say how sad that I have seen kids that are as young as 8, 9 months have fallen and hit in their head and created a traumatic brain injury and killed them. Parents that were throwing the kids up and down and just slipped and missed the child. And I've watched these videos and met some of these people, and I just can't tell you how sad it is. I can't tell you how many times I cried, watching some of the videos, especially one of the 6-year-olds that drowned. And that mom is an ambassador with me, and we've worked together multiple times. And the first thing I said was, "Why didn't your child know how to swim? At 6 years old, and you live in California." And she said she did, but she aspirated in the jacuzzi and swallowed the vomit, and that's what caused her to choke. And they thought they got her, but they couldn't get her. It caused brain damage. So after 4 days, the hospital told the mom the daughter wasn't going to make it, and those kind of things. The fact that I know these people were very sad to hear the stories, but then you hear how excited the mom is. My child saved 8 people, and these people are written back already. That's amazing, and you realize that your family just got 3 times as big, and your daughter's heart is still beating in somebody else's chest. Your daughter's liver is still working in somebody else's body. So that's that's an amazing story, and that's something that I didn't know about when I was going through all this. The other side of who gets the organs, I had no clue, and didn't realize that you had to be in a hospital for us to be able to use your organs, and just dying in a car accident unless you continue to breathe isn't going to work.
It would, taking a tragic scenario like the one you just shared with us and creating something positive, breathing life into others. And in that mother's case, taking the loss of a child, which is so, so difficult, and then breathing life into 8 other humans and paying it forward and creating that legacy. That's quite inspiring.
That's a very inspiring. And when I first met the mom, she told the story and she cried every time, because I mean, that's traumatic to lose a child.
Yes.
And what happened was, as we've now worked together for almost a year, it's been about a year since my transplant, a little over a year and 2 months. And I've been a part of this organization now since August of last year, August of 2024. And I've got to work with this mom 3 different times, and she is very inspiring, to see. Now, I'm a recipient, so I've received somebody's organ, but when you see somebody who has lost a family member, a loved one, a child, um, or even living donors, like somebody in the family who has donated a kidney to a sibling or to a relative, or become an angel donor where maybe they didn't get a match, but they decided to donate one so they would find another person that was a match for that person so they wouldn't have to be on the waiting list. Some people are on the waiting list for years. There are 100,000 people in this country on a waiting list for an organ to stay alive. And when you think about that, there are 6 people a day who die when they look at the statistics waiting for an organ transplant. So that's a lot of people that are not surviving because we don't have enough organs to divvy around this country.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, very
Well, so if
lot,
somebody wants to
a
don't,
lot of emotions in those stories.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's turn now to the second speaking opportunity that you share with audiences on impacting and working with multi generations, because each generation has their own set of values, the way they like to work with others. And I work with aspiring entrepreneurs who are in their 20s. My nephew is 24. He wants to be an entrepreneur and own a business. And I work with a lot of people who are in their 40s, 50s, and anywhere in between. So, what advice do you have for our listeners in working across generations?
Well, the big thing is that most people think Gen Zers, the young kids, are lazy. They think that this is the stereotypes. The young kids are always on their phone trying to find answers. They don't want to get up and get their hands dirty and go do work. But they are the generation that has grown up with only working with technology, where eventually they're the ones that are going to be running this country, and the rest of us need to learn how to work with that generation. I'm going to tell you that people like me, the baby boomers, the last group of baby boomers, we're the ones that feel like, oh yeah, you got to work hard, you got to get up early and go to practice.
Yes,
You
at
got to,
5:30.
yes, you know, and that's going to create your lifestyle. And that's,
Uh-huh.
you work hard, you do things right, you're going to make it, but that's not true. And the collaboration part of what I'm talking about at this event is, how do Gen Zers want to start teaching people like me? And I have to be honest with you, and until I had this heart transplant and really decided to get serious about, we're talking about my swim philosophy now, how to get serious
Uh-huh.
about creating a new business,
Yes.
how to want to win at this, I had to go learn how to use some of the technology. And that would include AI, which is taking over the country on everything. You have, and if you're going to be behind, if you're not using it, you're behind everybody else. If you're using it, you're going to at least be able to keep up with the generations that are using this. Now, I'm going to say, like millennials, they will look things up. They are technology driven. Gen X's and baby boomers, we're the ones that feel like you have to go out and work hard. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the way of the world anymore. We're not the ones that are going to be running the companies. Most of us are going to be retiring. And who's going to be taking over? It's going to be the millennials or the Gen Zers. And what my talk is about is how those Gen Zers and millennials can now begin to teach us to work with them. So we don't look at them as being the lazy ones, not wanting to get up and go outside and get their hands dirty, and always want to look things up online. So that's what this talk is about. Of course, I have a whole slideshow to present.
Sure.
It'll be a 20-minute speech to inspire them to do things that they didn't think they could do, but they can, and inspire them to assist people like me, because I have to find younger people that know how to. Gosh, I got my iPhone. Who do you think I asked how to work all this stuff? It's on the iPhone. I had to ask the kids on my swim team, can you
Yes.
help me with this?
Hmm.
You know, how do I get Google Docs? Can you show me how to do this? And unfortunately, yeah, well, they did, but not all of us have somebody next to us that's doing that. So you got to learn how to look things up on Google. You got to learn how to watch YouTube. You got to learn how to do the stuff that's going to teach you. And I think the Gen Zers are in a great position to take what they know, because they were born in technology. So they know all of that. It's a secondhand nature to them. And they know that, and they can teach us. So that's how they create a collaboration to build a bridge with somebody who's in my realm to further their collaboration, further their experiences in business when they get out of college. And that's what the talk is about. And I hope that it's going to be fun for them. because I've got some cool slides to show. I am going to talk a little bit about my heart transplant, and that is more exciting than talking about organ, eye, and tissue transplant for or donation for sure. Uh,
Well, I
and
definitely learned from Gen Zers that, that sometimes I can overcomplicate things as
yes,
I overthink things. I take the long road around. And to me, it's the short road. But then I listen to somebody like my nephew who's 24 and he's like, well, you just go from here to here and then cut out all that. You don't, why are you doing all that other stuff? And I'm like, well, how come I didn't think of that so simple or so easy? Or, he does things on Twitch. I'm like, what's Twitch? I thought he was a dancer, or, if you have all sorts of different things. So words have different meanings, and the road from A to Z, you can cut out B through Y if you're a Gen Zer oftentimes, because they see that straight path. And then just, like AI is the quick way to spit out a term paper or a story of or whatnot. So I admire and I learn from all different types of people. So I'm sure your story and what you have to share from working with people, from coaching 10-year-olds to 12-year-olds to 17-year-olds, you have learned a lot, Jimmy.
no, I have. I've had a great life. I was in the hospital. I will tell you that I probably drove the doctors crazy because I said, "Oh no, I've got way more to do. I need to get out of here." Every single day at 6:30 in the morning, I was awake because I knew they did their rounds then. When you're in there for 5 months, you get to learn what everybody does, and the first 4.5 months was with my old heart, and they were trying every way they could to fix the old heart, and before I would have to be a transplant person recipient. So, needless to say, I was up every morning saying, am I getting out today? What's happening? I was that guy. And I had my room full of pictures of kids that have won awards. In my book, I've put out some of the pictures that was on the wall that I would see every day, every morning when I would wake up. And I would see a t-shirt that said, never, never, never give up, which is why my book got called Never, Never, Never. But I added one never give up. And I did that because the book is to give thanks are the four quadrants of your heart. You have two atriums and two ventricles, and I talk a little bit about that in the preface of the book, of why I named the book "Never, Never, Never, Never Give Up." So it's super exciting stuff, and I've had a great life working with many different levels of athletes. From the very beginner, I run a swim school in Southern California. So I see the very beginning athlete to an athlete who is now going to national championships. I have not myself coached an Olympian, but I have worked with many other Olympians as one of their coaches or assistant coaches, or having them part of our program. I've had kids at Olympic trials, but not, as I told you, so few people make the Olympics.
So are you going
Um,
to the LA Olympics?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was at
You're
almost
there.
every I was at way more events at the last one
Uh-huh.
than even swimming. I got to see basketball, water polo, I got to see swimming, track. I saw many, many events here in the 1984 Olympics that we had in LA.
Yes.
Um,
Very
and,
exciting that
and
they're
that
going to
was
be there
very
soon.
exciting because I knew a lot of the swimmers, and that was at the pool at USC, which at that time it was called the McDonald Swim Stadium. Now it's USC Dayland Swim Stadium,
My
named
alma
after the
mater.
coach I worked for. Yeah.
I went to USC, so.
Oh, you did? That's fantastic. Well, Peter Dayland and his wife Ingrid were the people that brought me into the swimming world,
Oh,
from being a
cool.
swimmer in college, and I met his wife, and then I worked with Peter for that first summer when I was deciding, do I want to swim in university or do I want to move forward? And so I ended up moving forward because I couldn't make the Division I time standards. And Peter said to me, well, listen, man, you're really inspirational with these little kids. So my wife has a job for you if you're interested. So that's what happened. And I went to work with Ingrid, who was a former gold medal breaststroker from West Germany. And she was pretty much my mentor the first 10 years of my coaching career. And then I finally became a head coach. And then I finally decided to go work. You don't want to hear this, but I worked in the movie industry for 10 years as well. and I barely talk about it, but it's the movie industry is what gave me the insurance and the way to get my heart. If I didn't have that motion picture insurance, I probably wouldn't have had the insurance to go to USC, UCLA Medical Center. And UCLA to me was the place that saved my life, but USC are the swimmers and the people that I know, because those are the folks that I got to meet as I worked with the Dalen family. And I will tell you that it's an amazing school. I wish I could have gone there, but I chose to go to work after 2 years of college. And I don't want to look back at life and say, oh, I made a mistake, because I'm going to tell you that I didn't. I've impacted so many people and impacted so many programs with their athletes, their parents, the adults that I work with, have changed their lives. It's made a difference in what they do.
Yeah, well, your coaching, even though nobody went to the Olympics that you coached, you made such an impact, I'm sure, on everybody's life, on that work ethic and the responsibility to be accountable to your team members, and that winning attitude to be inspiring to others and to motivate yourself, which led to your swim philosophy. That has such larger ramifications in life, in business, in choices that we make as adults. And that ripple effect that you've created, Jimmy, on the world is incredible. So while I know you are an inspiration for so many others who are in need of a transplant of some sort, you are the inspiration with your leadership and your philosophy for so many generations of kids. So excited to read your book when it comes out in 2 months, and look forward to seeing you on the speaker circuit.
Laura, thank you, and I really appreciate you taking time to speak to me today. And it's been awesome, and I can't wait to see you at the next event.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jimmy. If you want to learn more about booking Jimmy for one of your events, you can find him at jimmyowenspeaker.com. Did I get that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Well, terrific. Well, thanks for being on the Powered by Franchising podcast today, Jimmy.
Thanks for having me, Laura, and have a great day.
You as well.